is a body weight exercise video. We're just going to go through a bunch of basic exercises that you can do just using your own body weight. So if you don't have weights, you don't have bands, or you don't even have a lot of time, take a look at some of these exercises that you can squeeze into your day to get a full body workout without any exercise equipment. So right now I have a chair, just in case you need some sort of balance support. There are a couple of exercises that I do plan to do in a seated position. So depending on where you're doing your exercise, you might want to have a sturdy chair or something else to hold on to, okay? So again, hopefully you've done your warm-up and you're all ready to go. So we're just gonna start off really simply with some heel raises. We're gonna start from the bottom here. We're coming up onto our toes and slowly down. Now, when we're doing this exercise, a couple things to think about. The chair is there, or whatever you might be using for balance support. We don't want you to be wobbling or falling over. Slow and controlled in all your movements. If you can do the exercise without the heels touching and resting on the ground, that's great. Okay, so we've done a few here, I've been talking, so now we're going to move our toes in a little bit. So if you can see, the toes are pointing in slightly, and then we're going to continue. Again, feel free to hold on. I'd rather focus on the technique of the exercise than letting go and not being able to do the exercise properly. Very good. Now same thing, we're going to turn the toes out a little bit so our heels are closer together, and then up on the toes again. Nice and tall. Maybe you can feel different parts of the lower leg when you're doing this, and we're changing the positions. You can feel different parts of the calf muscles working. Heel raises are really, really good exercises for balance, so it's a great exercise to work on. All right, next exercise, not so exciting, but also kind of important though. We're going to do a toe tap exercise. So we just did an exercise for the back of our leg, a lower leg. Let's address the smaller, thinner muscles at the front of our leg, okay? So I'm going to suggest, again, if you would like to hold on, you can. It's unnecessary. One foot slightly in front of the other, and then the heel is going to stay on the ground the whole time. And you're just going to tap your foot. Seems very, very simple. Tap, 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 tap. This isn't really an exercise where we tend to count how many repetitions that we're doing. You tend to just kind of tap, tap, tap. If you want to tap side to side, you can do that as well. Tap, tap, tap. Tap, tap, tap. So back to tapping. Again, you can go faster, slower, whatever you like. So the question you're asking is, how do you know if you're done or if you've done enough? Well, usually what I say is if you start to creep down at your foot to kind of see if it's still moving or you're not quite sure how well it's moving, then it's probably getting a little bit tired. You're feeling a little bit of burning in the front of the shin. That might tell you it's time to switch. I can feel that now. So let's switch. And tap, tap, tap. And same idea if you'd like to go tap faster, if you want to go side to side. Again, as you tire, sometimes you can't go as fast. So a few other things to note when we're doing the exercise. All right. We tapped out. Okay, so for the next exercise, I'm going to move this chair slightly. Okay. We're going to work again on another balance exercise that we can do with just our body weight. It's a wonderful exercise. I do recommend that you actually do hold on to something. So very few people that can do this exercise at least early on properly without holding on. Once you have experience, then you're going to be able to do it, no problem. So standing up nice and tall, all right? Hand on the hip I usually find is helpful. We're going to do a side leg lift, okay? Things to think about when we're doing this. Nice and tall, we're not tipping over, we're staying nice and tall. It isn't really about lifting your leg as high as it can go, you just want to do a nice slow and controlled. And then really, really important is that that toe is facing either forward or in a little bit. So if you notice your toe starts creeping out to the side, bring it back in, and then come and continue. Again, if your balance is good, you have the technique down, the toe is facing forward, all of those things are working, feel free to let go and continue. But if you find that at any point you start to lose the technique or the toe starts veering out again, feel free to hold on again. Again, you can use a 10 to 12 count or something on this as well, 15 if you'd like. One of these exercises that, again, your body's going to kind of tell you when the muscle gets a little fatigued. You're going to feel a little bit of that burning. We're going to switch to the other side. I'm going to have to move my chair though. All right. So same idea, staying nice and tall. Hand on the hip, side leg lift. Again, if you feel that you're very confident in your technique, then feel free to try to let go and maintain that technique while you're kind of standing on one leg. If you do that, you're going to notice quite a bit on the leg that you're standing on as well is actually going to fatigue a little bit. This outside muscle here. Okay? You can choose. Very good. Now, I'm going to move to the chair to do 2 separate exercises in the chair. So if you do actually have a kind of sturdy chair, feel free to use it. I admit it might be a little challenging if you're using a softer chair, like a couch, but you might be okay. So sitting down, first thing to think about in the chair that you're sitting in, and you can't quite see, we're not resting on the back, okay? So we're coming forward a little bit. So our feet are flat on the floor. We're nice and tall. There's nothing resting on the back. Treat your chair kind of like a stool. Nice and tall. We're going to do a chair sit-up, okay? So first thing I want you to think about is that the feet got to stay on the floor. So if you start to notice your feet coming off the ground, we want to adjust. And we want to stay nice and tall. I usually suggest putting your hands around your chest like this, but wherever they're comfortable. We're just going to slowly lean back, keeping your body straight towards the back part of the chair. If you feel your shoulder blades or upper back touching, we got to come right back up. So we don't get to rest in between. So we're coming down and coming right back up. So it is just a mini crunch or sit-up, however you want to look at it, for our core. You may feel a little bit of shaking in the muscles. That's just them activating and working. As long as there's no pain, then we're okay. And keeping a nice straight back. Again, as soon as you kind of feel or notice that your clothes or your shoulder blades are touching the back, come right back up in your sit-up. Very good. I mean, there are always ways to add weights and bands to all of these exercises, but the point of today is to go through some exercises that don't require any of these things. All right, I don't know how many we did, but okay. Next one, similar position. Always trying to get a good posture to start. We're going to do a twist. So we're going to roll your shoulders back, put your hands together, I find out in front, and then we're going to bring our hands that are together towards the side of the chair. But my hips are still, and pelvis are still facing forward. Okay, so twist. So the whole body isn't twisting so much. It's just that the muscles up there and the top there, but the rest of me is still facing forward. Do you feel the muscles in the side, kind of almost like a little side crunch there? So again, we're reaching our hands basically towards that back part of the chair there, but again, our hips bones are still facing forward. And twist. It's okay if your face wants to kind of turn with the exercise to kind of see, but you just want to make sure that we're isolating these oblique muscles in our abdomen. Very good. A couple more. One more on each side. All right. We're going to stand up again. I'm going to make sure I adjust my chair here. So I want to do what I call a flexion extension exercise of our hips. So also a balance exercise. I'm going to show it to you in 2 different directions, forward facing and then to the side so you can see it. Again, if you'd like to hold on, I do recommend it for most people. So I'm going to start using my right leg here. I'm going to lift up and then extend back. Up and extend back. And I'm going to show you what this looks like sideways. So we're going knees up and then we're extending back. So similar to that side leg lift, our body's steady. We're trying to keep our body nice and steady. It's not really about how far you can lift per se. It's control. And again, most of us are probably holding on. That's okay. So we're working on the hips the muscles at the front of the hip and now the back as well. We did the side when we did the side leg lift. So now we've addressed the whole hip. Okay, we're going to switch legs. I'm going to stay in this position because it works fine. And again, if you'd like to hold on, that's good. So again, tall, so bringing the leg up and then extending back. Up and back. So this is flex, extend, flex, extend. Nice and controlled. Again, focusing on this whole hip. A after we're done this short little workout, we're going to address all the areas around the hip, which is great. Great for balance. All right, next, our side bend. We can do this in a chair, we can do this standing. I'm going to do a couple in the chair, and then we'll stand back up and see it standing. So again, if we're in the chair, what I usually think about if we're in a chair, again, if the chair's really, really high, or if it's really long, this is the harder to use. This works good for like a single chair, not a couch or a sofa. But we're just going to reach down and down. And you may be able to find that you can reach further. But again, you want to keep your feet on the ground, so if they start to come up, that's probably too far. Okay, we'll do a couple more and then we'll stand and do the same thing. Okay, and now standing. Looks similar again, standing nice and tall, hands at our sides. We're just bringing our hand kind of towards the outside of the knee, and the other way. If you get a little dizzy easily, you can always try to go one side for a little while, and then to go to the other side. However you like. All right, so next, squats. Wonderful exercise. Can be challenging if you have issues with your knees. Technique becomes a little more important. But overall, lots of muscles, really important muscles that we're working when we're doing a squat. And there's a lot of variations to a squat. So I'm going to move my chair again, give myself some space. The wider your legs are apart, the easier it is. You have a little wider base of support. But we're going to work with kind of around our hip. I'm going to recommend about basically around that hip width. Toes facing pretty much forward in this case. Now, if you put our arms out in front of us, we're getting a lot more balance support here. Okay? Bringing our body close, our hands closer to us. A little less extra balance support. And again, you also have a chair, for example, that you can hold on to. Lots of different options. So, switching it this way so you can see. Again, your arms could be this way. Across the chest. Again, if you need more balance support, you could also be holding onto your chair. Now, you do want to make sure that the weight is in the heels of your feet in your squat. So your toes, back to wiggling your toes there. Toes nice and loose, pushing up to the heels. Toes nice and loose, pushing up to the heels. So you know what? If you have too much pressure on the toes, this is what's really going to put pressure on your knees if your knees are sore. If you want to take the pressure off the knees, you have to keep the weight in your heels. And continue. Awesome. Okay, so we have a couple more exercises. We're almost done for this set. I'm going to again turn my chair around. So here again, you can use a chair, a wall, a countertop, whatever's close by you that's sturdy. The first thing I want to do, again, we're going to be nice and tall, is a modified bird dog is what we would call this. It's good for our back. So we did a lot of core stuff today, which is great, but we're going to look at our back. So if I have my left arm and my right leg would be working at the same time. So watch like this. So you can do a couple on the same side if you like. All right, and switching. So then, be my right arm and my left leg going at the same time. You see how the core of my body really isn't moving. The only movement is coming from my arms and my legs kind of extending, and they're working the muscles of the back. All right, so from here, wall push-ups. So push-ups are great exercises, but I can understand how on the ground, one, way more challenging. Getting up and off the ground isn't for everybody. If it's for you, fine, you can go ahead, jump down on the ground, do your push-ups from there, modified or not. But for a lot of us, it's pretty hard. So let's still work the same idea of the muscles, keeping our core nice and strong. We can actually do a chair push-up or a wall push-up, whichever you have available. Here, I just have a chair. So the further you walk your legs out from your chair or your wall, the more challenging it is, the closer it is to a floor-style push-up. So if you're still new to the push-up world, then you don't want to be too far from your wall or your chair, and you can do your push-ups. Okay. And again, so there's two things to think about when you do your push-up. Well, more than two, but two that I'm going to talk about right now. If your elbows are in closer to your body, for example, you're going to get a little bit more of the triceps. My chair's moving a little bit, but you're going to get a little bit more of the triceps with your push-ups, okay? This back part of the arm. If your arms are out wider, for example, some chest. You're not going to get the triceps so much, okay? For some people find this one a little bit easier. You can try both ways. My chair keeps moving, so I can't do too many here before I get pushed right off the studio. But good thing about the push-ups you don't even think about is while you're doing it, you're actually in a plank. It's like a extra challenging plank, really, because planks are really great for our core, which is what we're going to do. We're going to finish off with the plank. Okay. Move my chair here. So we're going to finish off with our wall plank. Again, if you have experience and you're comfortable getting down to the ground, feel free. For the sake of this video, our basic body weight video, I'm going to do this again from the chair. So when we're doing our plank, similar to our push-up, but without the movement, it's actually simpler, is we're going to walk our body up. Now, the further your legs are from your chair or your wall, the more challenging the plank is going to be. Now, because I'm using a chair, it's kind of hard for me to use my elbows, so I'm going to have to use my hands. But you could put your elbows up against a wall or on a table too, if you have that option. But the whole purpose here is to create that straight line, plank, kind of with your body. So what you want to avoid, you don't want the hip sticking out the back, and you don't want to sink in, okay? So if you start to notice, well, it's super duper easy. The first thing I would say think about is bring the hips in a little bit. Sometimes our hips sort of hike out like this, and then we don't have the control. So holding that position. If it gets easier, again, you can walk your legs out further, hold the plank longer. We actually have a plank progression video in the exercise demonstration section of the Next Steps website. So take a look at that too if you want to work on your plank specifically. All right. So that is the basic body weight workout. So if that was good, you feel great, go on and do a whole other set of those exercises. 2 to 3 sets is ideal. So that's all for right now, and keep an eye out in the exercise demonstration section of the Next Steps website for more workout ideas.